and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA.
Bob Ryan and Gary Tanguay podcast here on CLNS Media is brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with PrizePicks. Okay, Bob, here we go. I can't wait for this season to start. I really want to have some games to talk about, but we are in preview mode, and the NBA put out their power rankings. As expected in the Eastern Conference, no surprise with the top three, with the Celtics, the Knicks, number 2, Philadelphia, because of the changes with the Knicks, we can understand that. But they got the Pacers ranked number 4. And they actually have the Pacers ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks. So let's talk about those two teams because, you know, and what you expect from them and what questions they have to answer. First, let's start with Indiana.
I'm bullish on them. Yes, I can see this happening if all goes well. First of all, Halliburton, he tailed off a bit.
Right.
He started off great.
Got hurt.
And that's really, yeah. But he's going to have he was the one really snubbed in the Olympics. If you want to use that verb to hate. But if you want to go down that road, you can, and he was the one who got, dissed the most, more than Tatum. Okay. He's going to be motivated. There's no question. And he is a talented, very, very talented player. But they've got and it's got a good backcourt mate in Andrew Nembhard, and by the way, and he's getting better and better. They got a very underrated guy in Miles Turner. I needed time to appreciate what he brings to the table, and the guy that should be bucking for an all-star berth for them is Pascal Siakam. He's at the peak of his career. He's a good player. And that's, that they got this kid Benedict Mathurin who was hurt last year, but had a nice year the year before. They got Obi Toppin, and they just re-signed one of the most valuable utility players in the NBA, DJ McConnell.
Right. He
is he is what he is. He's a third guard, but he's a good one. He knows who he is. I always pay great respect for him when they play them. I think it's a good roster, and I think they're solid. They're very solid. They're not flashy, but they're very solid. I think, and they have a guy who's a borderline superstar, if you will, in Halliburton. And so I think them, and I think as opposed to Milwaukee, I just think people are wondering if the door hasn't kind of closed, in a sense, with them. And you always worry about Giannis's health. Obviously, when Giannis is healthy, he's phenomenal. He's one of the most interesting players ever. And but Middleton gets hurt. I think that people, and Brook Lopez is still important, but he's 37 this year, I think. By the way, he's had I want to pay something. I wouldn't have been at all. In fact, I would have advocated. I did that he was on the Olympic team because we need a legitimate big man. He's not going to the Hall of Fame, but he's one of those Hall of pretty good guys for a career.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, when he was with the Nets,
and of course his reinvention is the story, is the model for all the big men in the world. Literally, that if you want to be a modern NBA player and be a 5, you better be able to face up the basket as well, or even more than you have your back to it.
Right.
And here's a guy that for the first X years of his career, he probably didn't take double-digit attempts and threes first 5 or 6 years of his career, and now he's a dangerous three-point shooter. He's absolutely made himself into a very legitimate shooter, and he's also a rim protector that you don't really realize what he is. So anyway, I like him, but he is getting up there. So I just think Milwaukee's depth is questionable as well.
Well, you raised the point about the depth because with Lillard and the Freak.
I forgot. I knew I forgot an important component.
Right, but with Lillard and when Lillard and Antetokounmpo are off the floor, they're done. That's where you look at what Brad Stevens has done with the Celtics, and you go, that's the deal, the depth. If Brown and Tatum are off the floor obviously they're not as good, but there's some real depth there. I mean, Milwaukee's a two-man team, especially if Middleton's not healthy.
Right. Where's their Hauser? Where's their Pritchard? Where's their even Al Horford?
Where's their White?
So you're right. That's why I can see that. I am bullish on Indiana, and So that's fine.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members. Look, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike all the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. That's it. Now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Now, here's an example of a player projection lineup. You could be going Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards or Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. On the other end, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. You like those picks? So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. What about Cleveland at all? I mean, they've kind of fizzled a little bit. I thought they would. I don't expect them to, be in the top 3, but I thought they would cause more problems.
Yeah, I agree. But I think, there were, 2 years ago, you would have really
we were high on them.
It just still comes down to the New York and Philly thing, and really,
right. No, you're right.
Again, I'm going to say it for 1,000th time. I'm so happy to have the rivalries back. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, we look at the West, and the West in the NBA Power Rankings, they have OKC, which did not do well in the playoffs, but they have them ranked #1. And then Denver, and then you have Dallas, and then you have Minnesota. To me, Bob, Phoenix is #5, but we know that's kind of the senior citizen home. Of the top 4 in the West, I mean, they're all the same to me. I mean, maybe Dallas. I mean, Dallas has to be healthy. But you take those top 4 teams, I mean, you could put them in a slot to me.
You could. I mean, Minnesota's got a lot to offer. They all got something to offer.
Yeah, they could all be #1.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it happened to be Dallas that came through last year, but and there's going to be an expectation on them. And the history as a guide. Don't get carried away if you're a Dallas fan to think that this means you're coming right back.
Yeah,
it's just not the way it works in any sport, and it doesn't. Especially when you have such as we both agree, such parity in the West at a not an ultra high level, but at a pretty high competitive level. Those teams are.
I'm glad you said that, Bob. I'm glad you said parity. Because you're right, but it's not great. Look, I'll break, obviously we saw what the players have with OKC, and Denver is a 2-man team. We know that. And you take a look at the Mavericks were a 2-man team, maybe 1.5 during the finals. And then you go to the Timberwolves, and there was a lot of expectation played on them. And when you really take a look at those rosters, they've got highlights. You know what I mean? They got highlights. They don't blow anybody out of the water.
They don't scare you. You're absolutely in totality. No, they don't. They're good teams, and one of them's going to be playing in the finals. That's all we know. Right. Now, to me, right now, the intriguing team beyond them is the Lakers.
Right.
And because LeBron is going to be 40 on the 30th of December. We know that, but he's 40 going on 33 maybe the way he's playing.
I mean, he's just
and it's Anthony Davis, as he proved in the Olympics, is a terrific player. He was the indispensable man, in my opinion, on the floor for them overall. They had to have him out there, both ends of the floor. Stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's 31 now, and he's never been consistently healthy. But boy, is he good! Don't ever underestimate how good he is. Their big an X factor guy that is D'Angelo Russell. He can score 20 points easy, and they've added some other shooting, and Hachimura can shoot, and I know this. I'm thinking of a young player, Christie. So, but they they could be better than people think. But then again, it's all precarious when you're depending on a soon-to-be 40-year-old
Right.
and a relentlessly unhealthy,
Anthony
star.
Davis. Right.
But if they could get lucky in that regard,
And get healthy. I mean, look, if Davis is healthy, if Davis is healthy through the playoffs,
they can play with anybody out there in that regard.
Right. We got something.
No, it's been a big if. But so I would just say, hey, let's see how it goes. Keep your eye on the Lakers. Don't discount the Lakers as being in the mix there.
I've had the chance to see the Patriots win the big game 5 times. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like being there live, right? And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. When you go to the Game Time app, look for the super deal. But you got to go to the app, you got to look for it. Check out the super deal. You won't regret it. With the Game Time app, curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Don't forget, look for the super deal. See views before you buy. You check out the view before you buy it. How's better? That's nothing better than that. It's like test driving the ticket. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole lot more. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And as I mentioned, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, I love going back in the time machine with Bob Ryan because when I fell in love with the NBA, just up the road from where you are right now, 1974 was the first year I remember. The Celtics won the title that year, and I remember in detail. And I remember watching on Sunday afternoons, and Dick Motta was either coaching the Chicago Bulls or he was coaching in Washington, and he was just one of those guys that was just always around. He's 93 years old. Bob, when you told me that Dick Motta is not in the Hall of Fame, I was shocked.
Dick Motta, it's a very unfortunate oversight, and he's 93 years old now, and it better get done. Now, the first thing somebody will say, well, he wasn't even 500. He wasn't. I just double checked it. He wasn't 500 as a winner, as a coach. He lost more games than he won. Part of that was at the end of his career. He's Sacramento. He went a little too long, right?
Washington. He coached very good teams in the 70s.
But and then of course when he was the inaugural coach of the Mavericks, which means you're going to have 2 or 3 big loss years to start right off the bat. Well, guess what? That's what he had, but he turned them around, gradually, and they became with him a very good team. Dick Motta is one of the most interesting guys. He's the guy. He truly coached at every level. He coached in high school in Utah. He's from Utah, and he coached at high school. He coached junior college. He coached Weber State for 8 years, and he was identified and was hired to coach the Bulls by Jerry Krause, I believe was in charge at that time. And but he was hired by the Bulls at an age when it was all very much in vogue to hire college coaches. There was it all began with Butch McGradycoff going from Princeton to the Lakers, but then the Cotton Fitzsimmons came in, and Bill Fitch came in, and I'm thinking of some others that came in that were college coaches. He was one of them. His Bulls teams of the early 70s were most. I always kidded. If it weren't a 24-second clock, they would have won a couple of championships. No team milked it better. They were a defensive-oriented team with a very precise offense, and that starting five of Boydwinkle, Chet Walker, Bob Love, Norm Van Leer, and Jerry Sloan was a damn good team. The one problem is they couldn't get by the Lakers or the Bucks. They were stuck in the West with them, but they were fun, fascinating. And every time when you played them, when the Celtics played them, who want to run, and the Bulls don't want you to run, it was a matter of whose will was going to be imposed on the other. And they were fascinating games. But it was fun to go to the Chicago Stadium, and it was really good stuff. Motta was a very interesting man, a very fascinating guy, very much a man of the West, very much loyal to the small schools and everything, the background that he came from. He was just those teams were a grind to play. He made them into it was a tooth pull to play them. They were really good. And then he goes to Washington and they win. And he gets in, they win one and they get to the finals the second year. And that's when he went to the Mavericks and got them off the ground. But I think he was
well, when you look at the NBA Hall of Fame, Bob, and we can have discussions about each of the Hall of Fames. I mean, when you take a look at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and you know, it's not that hard to get in. The NBA Hall of Fame, while I am a huge fan and I adore it, and I appreciate the fact that you and a number of your colleagues are contributors in the Hall, it's not like the NBA Hall of Fame is that hard to get into. So, like, damn it, if you can't put Dick Motta in, what the hell?
No, it's just it never comes up. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm the last one who remembers him or something.
Yeah, I don't get it because I remember when he won the title. I mean, if you coach in the NBA and you win an NBA title, I don't see how you don't get in the NBA Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. I don't get it. Or the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he had a good long run. He was terrific. But I just feel bad about it, and because I just think he was special in his own way, very much so. He was a fun guy to talk to, fun guy to hang out with, and he was some. But I just, would hope something could happen while he's around, and he's still around. He's 93, but I can't stress how unusually, how specific that those Bulls teams were. How interesting it was every night. It was fun. And by the way, Sloan and Van Leer, I continue to insist, the toughest backcourt I've ever seen in the NBA. The two of them together, and Jerry Sloan was fascinating because he did both. He was a master flopper and a guy willing to stand in front of a Mack truck. He'd do both. You couldn't win with him because he would take the charge. He would take the charge better than anybody. You didn't know which one you were going to get.
No, Sloan was great. One of the great characters in the league. All right, Bob, go for a swim in the lake behind you. Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Special thanks to the Dan Smith Studios for helping us out today. Bob, we'll talk to you next week.
Very good, Ken.